start with number one. Line one has got Octavia from Laredo, Texas, who wants to ask about the nation of Israel's claim on the land based on God giving them the land. Hey, Octavia, you're on with Tracie and John.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'm a big fan of the show. Basically, I'm an atheist, and in the book of Genesis, it says, God gave Abraham and his descendants a certain amount of land. As an atheist, I don't believe that, but that's one of the more common arguments used today to justify their ownership of that land. And I don't oppose the nation of Israel, but I don't agree with that argument for their claim to owning the land, and I'm kind of conflicted because a lot of anti-Semitic people say they shouldn't be on that land, and it's because I'm not anti-Semitic that I worry that my stance on the issue may come across as anti-Semitic because it can line up with some of the positions of people who actually are anti-Semitic. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, as an atheist, I also agree that I don't think it makes any sense for somebody to say this land was God-given. I mean, that's what the people who started this country claim, too. Anyone can claim, hey, my God gave me this land, it's mine now. I don't consider that particularly compelling. I get what you mean. If you're anti-Israel, you might come off being anti-Semitic, but I don't worry too much about that. I think you can separate somebody's recognized country in the national community as a separate thing from, a religious claim that they have some kind of inherent right to it.
Yeah, my understanding of your call was that you weren't actually anti-Israel, that you're supportive of, hey, they can have a nation state, why not? But you just don't buy into that one argument.
I'm generally pro-Israel, but I'm ambivalent toward them. I don't look at them through the rose-colored glasses of many evangelicals who basically think they can do no wrong. I am generally supportive of the nation of Israel because I know that for the most part they are pretty progressive. They do have some liberal policies. They're okay with gay pride parades, things like that, which I support. So I generally do support them, but I also don't think they're flawless. Of course, they're human beings. They mess up like everybody else. But it's just the whole argument about do they have a claim to that territory, that piece of real estate, which is what has me conflicted, because from a theological standpoint, I don't buy the argument that the land was given to them by God because I don't believe that.
No, the land was given to them by Great Britain. I mean, let's just be, straight up about it. They got the land from Britain, and, the United States originally was opposed to the deal, and then somewhere we got on board, and now we're just, beyond pro.
And who gave the land to Great Britain to begin with? Yeah,
I mean, because it was, colonization and colonialism. But there is a whole host of historic mess that goes with that. There's a whole host of modern mess that goes with it.
Definitely.
It is a train wreck, I would say. But at the same time, like you say, I would probably want to go with the two-state solution, but I don't know that that's feasible based on the hostilities. But I would say let's keep the call to the question of the divine right, which I think we would agree. We don't agree with that. I think if we want to talk about the issue of whether or not there should be an Israeli state, that needs to be argued from different points. And I don't think that it necessarily makes a person anti-Semitic or Zionist or based on their position on whether or not there should be a nation state or they should, be considered as a nation state. But I do think that I would agree with you, and I don't think you're going to get much argument on this program about whether or not a religious argument should be acceptable. I do want to say that when you talk about the evangelicals' support for Israel and, that idea they can do no wrong, it's not so much that they can do no wrong in the eyes of evangelicals, it's that they don't care what Israel does.
Right.
Because that's part of the prophecy. And let's just be clear. They support Israel because ultimately they desire to see Israel annihilated. That's the plan.
They see Israel as eschatologically useful.
Yeah, it has to exist so that it can be destroyed, so that prophecy can be fulfilled. So basically,
Right.
their support of Israel is that eventually they would like to see, Israel decimated.
That's
And
messed
they
up.
they need to build it up in order so that it can be torn down. And first it has to exist. And so
Right. And like you said, from the standpoint of, I mean, in one sense, it's like, okay, it's there now, so I guess part of me feels like, well, it's there now. I mean, they're a country now, so we shouldn't change that. Like I'm not saying we should do away with it, but it's like, kind of like what's done is done.
Yeah, there's a certain point in history where you have to say, like, how do you even go backwards, or could you even go backwards, or now are we just kind of stuck with what is, and we need to just sort it out and fix it based on what we're handed right now. I totally understand.
Exactly.
It's a mess, and I don't envy the diplomats who have to handle that. Except, I'm not going to get into that. We can't get into that on this show.
Sure.
So, because we are.
No, but I really appreciate you giving me your opinion.
Yeah, I think we tend to agree with you, and I don't think I think especially because you're saying, look, I'm okay with them having a nation state. I'm open to arguments, but not that particular one. I don't think that makes you anti-Semitic at all.